We're on a private ranch in northern Mexico. The task here is culling 3-year-old white-tailed bucks of 9 points or less. In the previous film, I've shown you how the Robinson deer knife, with its unique design and shape, helps you achieve the perfect gralloch, to remove the head and legs and to neatly skin the carcass. Now, with some help from whitetail expert Dr. James Kroll and master butcher Alan Hayward, the next stage is butchery, breaking down the carcass into recognisable cuts for your kitchen. Remember, we want to use every part of this carcass, therefore nothing is too much trouble for an excellent end result. Your Robinson key points are: allow the carcass 3 to 4 days to set so the meat is firm to work with. Follow natural seams in the muscles, and always label meat for the freezer with date and type of cut. The shoulder.
We're now going to start breaking them. Start off by taking the shoulders off.
This is the shoulder. It's an amazing piece of meat and will make 1 or 2 slow roasting joints and dice for the stew. First, Alan cuts into the armpit towards the joint, drawing strokes with the front curve of the blade, keeping well clear of the back straps, and you can immediately see gravity working in his favour. Then he hocks the foreleg to give him a grip, and away it comes.
One shoulder.
And on the breast side is our first lymph node.
We take out the pre-scapular lymph node.
Now in England, you have to inspect these, right?
We do, yeah. It's because ours goes into the retail food chain.
And you're trained to do that. So.
And we are, yeah.
Yep.
There's the lymph node.
Exactly what they should look like, grey, watery.
That's perfect. Perfect lymph node.
Next, the shin. This is amazing meat for slow cooking. We slice it, and again directly across the joint. No need for a saw. And can I just point out, Alan, you're now using the boning knife, which is a prototype boning knife, which will be available with the knives. And the idea of that is it's for specific purpose for this. Make your life easier.
You know, Mike, the sad thing is that in the States, with whitetails, this shoulder is usually thrown away.
Honestly?
Because honestly, because it's just too much trouble to bone it out, they think. And as Alan is going to be showing us, it's not trouble to bone it out.
No, we've got a shoulder, which you do in your restaurant as a slow roast, don't you? And like a pulled pork type thing?
That's kind of it, yep.
Or we can just cut straight through there, to that joint. You can see that joint, couldn't you, in that lump of fat?
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got 2 small pot roast joints.
What you just said about the shoulder to me is almost painful, because I make a lot of my money as a restaurateur with this cut of meat. I mean, if you hold this up, look.
Yeah, look.
This for me is magic.
Yeah.
We braise this slowly, and all you got to do is you got to put it in a pot. Okay, cover it with vegetables, garlic, liquor of some sort, by which I mean wine and water or cider or beer, and braise it, by which I mean put it in that oven for about 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 6 or 7 hours. And then when it's done, you just pull that shoulder blade out and flake the meat up, do what you like, but honestly, it's the best slow cooking meat on the whole animal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. This is for mince, right?
No, that's your mince. This
That's
is
your mince.
your goulash.
Dice, we call it.
Oh yeah,
Chili.
we call it stew meat.
Stew meat, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
And this
Same
is
thing.
for chili, basically.
Yeah.
Next, Alan's taking off the ribs. Amazing for boneless slow cook and barbecue smoked deer ribs.
The piece we were so careful to leave attached when skinning is now our guide for taking off the ribs. And we'll cut parallel with the back to where the first joint touches the spine. So that's our cue for cutting it away. And with a saw,
Thank you, sir. Look at these ribs.
Oh man,
Right, James.
that is beautiful.
Then the neck, a hugely underestimated piece of meat that when slow cooked is as delicious as any other part of the deer.
right, the neck comes off between the first and second joint.
Oh, Thank you. Now let's look at these two bits of meat.
Yeah.
Because, Alan, what sort of volume of meat are we going to achieve off the net?
Like 4 kilos, 8, 9 pound.
Yep, 8-9 pound.
9, yeah.
And then these ribs here, we'll take out these. I mean, if you want to take them out, what you can do is just make a little cut there, go underneath the rib, like so. Just scrape it. So we'll just take the ribs down all the way to where we've cut the joint. And there, out it comes. And now, if you do that all the way along, you're left with fantastic meat for slow cooking, or leave them on the bone, because that's how you like it.
That's right.
And then
Smoke them.
smoke them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can do it boneless, when you can roll that whole thing up
Yeah.
with herbs and all that.
Oh, that would be good.
Slow cook it real slow, and then you get a round of it, and you can tie it with string and roast it and carve it into slices.
Oh, wow.
And you got those lovely little rib joints, so the knife slides between them. So that's your perfect rib there, isn't it? Look, how do you prepare these?
Oh, I put them in a smoker with either mesquite wood
Yeah.
or whiskey barrel wood for 6 to 8 hours and let them slow smoke. Oh,
And they just peel apart. and
people
oh.
will fight over them. Yeah. I guarantee you they'll fight over them.
And now for the saddle.
Right, now we're left with the 2 haunches and the saddle. So for the purpose of today, we're going to take the saddle off right at the hip joint. You can feel it straight across.
Here. There you are, sir. Scalpel. It's safe to say that from a restaurant point of view, this is what the chefs want, okay? And because we're allowed to sell wild venison in restaurants in the UK, Alan, you as a game dealer, as a processor, this is what they mostly want, eh?
Most of the restaurants in London have either the saddles like they are,
Yep,
or we take the fillets out. You've got the 2 under fillets.
yep.
Half of those fillets I've left on the haunch for now, but they're very, very tender, fillet steak in beef
Yeah.
and tenderloin in pork. We take them out whole and then we break them up, but we're going to cut T-bone chops today.
Here we
So
are.
I've left them in. So this part of the saddle, the short saddle, and then there's the 2 racks, or the best ends.
The best end, yep.
And we can either take the fillets out of those, or we can
Chops.
do it as a French trim, take out the chine bone, which I'll do in actual fact,
Yep.
and then we can see you've
So-
got the choices.
Let's take the main saddle out first and do the T-bones.
The first rib, we're going to cut across. And this is called the Baron.
The Baron can also be halved. Then, if you use the gaps as a guide, you can cut and saw single chops that are incredible on a barbecue. Alan, that is just
And
the
you
most...
could cook that as it was, couldn't you?
I would cook that for 8 people as an amazing roast.
When it's cooked,
Carve those
Yeah.
2 pieces off.
I don't slow them.
Right, but the magic with a deer is the T-bone off a deer this size. It's not huge, it's gorgeous to eat, it's everything about it's stunning.
Well, we've been cut right down the centre of the bone.
You really have.
There we've got 2 loins. You leave a little bit of fat in.
I think so.
Then we're going to cut into the joint.
And that's like your guideline, isn't it?
Yes, and you miss the thin bones in between.
And that assures you have proper thickness on your T-bone, because nothing worse than a thin T-bone.
Oh, you're so right. Well, of course, in Europe with beef, you know, the T-bone, the classic bistecca alla Fiorentina is a 2-person beef T-bone
Oh yeah,
for 2.
huge.
It weighs 2.5 pounds. Now, I realize that's normal in Texas, but
Yeah, that's nothing in Texas. Look at that. Look at this. Wow. What a cut. What a beautiful cut. Alan, you're a master.
he's a very useful man to have along on a hunting
Yes,
trip
he is. I guarantee you that.
because he can shoot them as well, eh?
Yeah. So Alan, you should expect to get 4 to 5 steaks out of each side.
That's right.
Next, Alan's carefully sawing through the back of the ribs,
Okay, Alan, what are we doing now?
We're taking the chine bone out.
making sure he stops before he spoils the eye of the fillet. And it's good to have someone helping you if you've got it, because they can put this pressure on while it's going. And this blade is designed to work its way around all those little joints and carve the meat away from the bone. Then Alan's exposing the fillet and working with a curved tip of the boning knife to cut the muscle cleanly away from the backbone.
I'll tell you what, a coyote would be proud of that cleaning job.
That's your bait for tonight.
Next, he carefully cuts away the nuchal ligament so that he can skin away the silver sinew.
The nuchal ligament, that's what holds their head up.
If you go for a neck shot and you touch that, he'll drop like he's been shot by a cannon,
Yes, sir.
and then 10 seconds later he'll jump up and run away.
Yes, to the chagrin of many a hunter.
Me, I've done it.
If you've hunted, you've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got the satellite fillet.
So now this hard bit, this is getting the sinew off the back.
Yeah, the silver skin.
Yeah. This is where a knife is all important, really.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that.
You don't want to waste a single morsel.
There's your satellite fillet, which you can cook in one piece, cook in two pieces, slice it up afterwards,
Yeah.
put it into medallions.
See, they're lovely because you do them on a barbecue, you marinate them on a grill. Let's have a look at one, shall we?
Look at that.
You've even got a little bit of fat inside the meat, which means these deer must have been eating pretty well.
Good nutrition here.
Yeah. And of course, the last option is to slice the fillet on the bone into single chops. It's pretty beautiful, Alan. We'll do a plate of those in the restaurant. 3 of them, beautifully grilled. You know, some crisp garlic potatoes, a bit of Italian black cabbage, cavolo nero.
You know, it's hard to work with you. I'm dying of hunger.
The best tip for cooking this, and this is a quick cooking cut, is don't slam it on the heat. You want a what we call a barbecue, a broiler, a grill. If you're using charcoal or mesquite or whatever you're cooking over, you want enough heat to get the color on the meat, having done a nice little oil-based marinade, and then raise it once you've got color and let it cook gently, because the idea is to turn the meat from raw to cooked, and that will happen at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, 170 degrees Fahrenheit, pink all the way through ideally, if that's what you like, that's what I like. So be gentle with it, treat it nicely, it's died for you.
That's exactly.
Next is the haunch, probably the most prolific meat-bearing part of the animal.
This is the part I want to see.
Okay, so we're going to cut right down the pelvic bone.
We got another lymph node here we'll get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is what's made me my living for the last 12 years in England,
The haunches.
the haunches. Alan's cutting along the contours of the pelvic bone and finding the ball socket joint.
There, you can see the joint, there it is, look. If you put our knife in there and break that little bit of cartilage there, which joins it together, the leg will now go away from the pelvic bone.
By cutting across this joint, it will break open and you can separate the haunch neatly from the pelvis.
Turn it around.
Just remember, follow the bone so that you don't waste any meat.
There it is.
There it is.
That coyote's going hungry again.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
one leg. Okay, there it is. So what we're going to do with this, there's lots of options. You can cook it as it is if you want, or we can break it up into usable pieces. We've got steaks, parves. You like the shank as well, don't you?
Do you use the shanks?
Do I use the shank?
I bet you use the shanks.
use the shank.
You look like a slow cooking man to
I'm
me.
a slow cooking man.
My feeling would be to, if you want to take the shank off, do the parves and take the chump off in a oneer, and then we'll cut the chump into some nice,
Take the cap off.
yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay, so you can see whether there's the joint. You can just see it in there, look.
Most people would think you have to use a saw to do that.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look at that again. So that basically is a flat joint.
Similar to the atlas joint on the head. Very
And
similar.
we just
W shape.
little bit of a wobble as you go through it with the knife, straight through. Beautiful. There you go.
So we'll do this into a. Got the saw again, please, guys.
There you go.
He'd have made a good surgeon back in the 18th century,
Oh,
wouldn't
he
he?
would have, yeah.
Thought about it, but I can't put them back together.
That's a nice touch there. Very nice touch.
It's something simple, but
Always do that, because then when it
marrow
cooks,
shrinks.
it shrinks back down and you get a clean bone.
Yeah, you get a clean bone and you get the marrow out of the bone, and it's beautiful. One of the most wasted cuts in deer hunting. Slow roast that, all that sinew and everything dissolves away. Oh.
And it goes sticky and it's
Yeah,
rich and it melts in the mouth.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take the chump off. Straight across. Okay.
Beautiful.
That can be cut into steaks.
Is that your little cap there?
That's your cut there.
And this is called the rump cap. And this is an amazing little piece of meat.
Oh, yes.
We cook one of these
Yes, we cooked one and it was.
and the flavor's exquisite.
Look at that.
It's an amazing little piece of meat. Just delicious. The rump cap can become beautiful thin steaks for grilling.
Three nice steaks. Right, now we've got the centre of the leg, which is the three primal joints. Top side, silver side, and top rump, as it would be in beef. So we're going to cut along the length of the bone, right on top of it. And then we'll go around it and underneath it, because there's a natural join in there, natural seam. There it is, look. There you go, that's the top rump.
Very popular as a roasting joint, this. People like it, but I like, I'm sure you're going to show us, Alan, to take out the centre and cut it into two.
I can either make two parves off it, or, for the sake of ease,
You're just following between sinews there.
that's all, just the natural joins. Now that is the nut. They call that the nut. You would probably find it easier just to cut into steaks.
Next, the thigh bone comes out. And the whole thing is seamed apart into individual muscles.
Now the next two joints, you can see the seam going through the middle. Don't really need a knife, just to touch the top side and silver side. Mainly because of the silver on the side. A bit more meat. Now again, this can be done as a roasting joint, whole. It can be cut into steaks or done into parves.
Very easy to cook. They're beautiful, big, fat, chunky steaks to cook. They're absolutely wonderful. There's a simple recipe for them.
What wonderful texture.
I love it. I love the grain of it,
Yeah, the
you know?
grain, it's just beautiful.
The sinews removed, the parve steaks can be cut. And you notice that Alan's trimming that sinew off, and the reason for that is this is a quick cooking cut. Okay, it's not a braising cut. If you braise this collagen, this sinew, it breaks down, but it won't break down, and it'll tighten up and shrivel around the meat,
Yeah.
and you want it gone, you know?
Yeah.
I make my guys in the kitchen spend hours doing it.
Those are the individual parves.
Those are Texan parves.
Or, oh, they're the big ones, yes. Or you can just cook it in one piece, and then if you're cooking it for 2 or 3 or 4,
Yeah.
you'll cook a piece, won't you?
I like, yeah, we do. I'm going to put these in here.
Now I'm just going to take the back off of the top side for the same reason. Got another joint there, look. I just open that one up there.
That's one of my favourite little cuts of meat on the animal.
This one, yeah? Now I'm just going to take...
God, that meat is so
Yeah.
tender.
You would cook that one whole, I think, if you had a table
Yeah,
before, wouldn't you?
probably would, yeah, and we carve it like a roasting joint. But in this instance, I'm going to cut it into steaks.
You can do that.
So, tell me how thick you like your steaks, Mr. Kroll, Dr. Kroll.
Oh, 1.5 inches, 2 inches.
Like that?
Yeah, 2 inches. would be perfect.
2 inches.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd go broke in a minute in Britain if I was cutting steaks your way. We're modest in all things, you know.
Look at that.
Look, okay, let's just look at that as a piece of meat.
Oh, that's
Okay.
beautiful. Look at the marbling.
Look at the marbling. Can you believe it's a wild animal?
Yeah.
It's in Mexico.
Yeah,
It's in a semi-desert environment.
right.
And yet it's so productive, this environment, the habitat. It produces deer with fat like that.
Yeah.
As a restaurateur and a hunter, for me, it's all about doing justice to these wonderful animals. And I hope you'll find correct gralloching, skinning and practice butchery will help you create some amazing cuts of meat and waste absolutely nothing. Largely thanks to your Robinson deer knife.